Guado, and Saka Offori-Atta is also.
See, on one hand, Saka, it look like he's been fired. On another hand, people think he's been promoted.
Why do you think he has? Some machinations are going on. Nana Addo is doing some 3D chess, playing some AGB.
Hey, so scared. See, for a very long time, Nana Addo said the guy has been perfect. Don't go fire him. Last, he fire him. As he don't fire him, no, say, oh, we make him senior minister.
The senior envoy something.
Charlie.
Anyway, guys, welcome to another video from the Bonksman TV. We hope you have been enjoying our videos, liking, sharing, subscribing. We want to say a big thank you to everybody who's been supporting us. The love has been massive.
It has, right? Yeah. Actually, we were surprised with all the yeah. So thanks for the support.
But it's been going very well. Anyway, this week in the news in Ghana, bombshell story came out.
Reshuffle.
Nana Addo, president of Ghana, who has been running away from reshuffling his ministers, changing them, moving them around, has finally done it. 10 months to the election. Some say it is a little too late. Others say, better late than never.
Oh, that's
so it depends on whether you're a glass half full or glass half empty type of what type of guy.
Guy, see, if you have to do something, do it when it's needed.
But not
it. Aside that, if you don't do it on time, guy, right now I don't know what.
Why do you say it's not needed? Because to him, maybe he's doing something that he thinks that it is needed at this time.
Well, that's to him.
So he doesn't care about you.
Well,
has he ever cared about you?
Unfortunately, I can't argue that.
Anyway, there were a couple of ministers that were reshuffled. We'll go into them later. But the one person who has taken over the news in this reshuffling has been the finance minister. Everybody thought Ken Offori-Atta was going to be there till the end of time, really, Nana Addo's time, because there had been clamor for him to be changed. Yeah. But senior man say actually.
I say he's been very impressed with what Ken has been doing. So so long as the president was concerned, there was no reason to change him. In fact, he deserved a promotion. Maybe that's why he kind of finessed and promoted him.
Anyway, for those of you who don't know Ken Offori-Atta, he attended, I think, Columbia and then Yale. Investment banker on Wall Street, ended up coming to Ghana to set up Data Bank, and then was there for up until like 2012, became finance minister. Fun fact, he is the cousin of the president. Yeah. So when the president came into power with him at the Home of Affairs at the finance ministry, that was one of the big things that ticked people off. But again, senior man say he was the one going to be doing the job.
He had a lot of confidence in him, the guy from Wall Street.
Yeah.
And in Ghana, you see, when somebody comes from abroad with some credential, with people just look at them as, hey, they must really know what they are doing. And
sometimes they don't.
Sometimes
he set up a successful bank, so I guess.
No, what I mean is in public service, right?
Yeah.
The fact that somebody is successful on from the private side doesn't mean they immediately, and especially when the person is also your cousin. That's like conflict of interest. Like, how do you bring your own cousin as finance minister? His argument has been, well, if the person knows what they are doing, then why not, right? Good, fair enough. But then when it gets to a point where it doesn't look like they know what they are doing,
you should probably let them know.
Exactly.
Anyway, so let's go into the initial years, because if you think about how the MPP have characterized like their economic, the trajectory of the economy under them, they say that the first couple of years were good, starting from 2017 when they came into office. Then COVID hit in 2020, and that's where things went downhill.
Right.
Offori-Atta in the first couple of years, the guy won Best Minister for Africa, the Banker magazine or something like that.
Yeah, he won some fancy award. I mean, I think, yes, the first year, 2017, was good, right? And you could feel it. You see, that's the thing with these economics, and we can sit here and talk about the big grammar and economy, but people feel things in their pockets, You can buy kinky, for instance. But so that first year,
economics. I've seen it on.
Oh yeah, economics. Yeah. So the reality is that 2017 wasn't that bad, right? I mean, some people might argue that the prior government laid some foundation, right, and then they were benefited. But that's what's speculative.
Talking about.
So let's give to them what they chopped the good numbers. He was obviously recognized, right? Yes. So I think the first year was good.
Yeah.
And then I guess from that point on is history.
So you don't
work.
Okay, well, so depending on who you speak to, well, technically not depending on who you speak to. I think that, to be fair, the first year was
good.
The GDP grew by a substantial amount, even though part of that was because of oil. 3 new oil fields that were found and came on stream. But hey, you inherit the good, you inherit the bad.
Right.
So GDP growth was good. I think the city depreciation was also reasonable, considering that our city always depreciates.
For obvious reasons.
It was okay. Inflation was single-digit inflation and all of that. Then the government went on a borrowing spree.
Oh yes.
Nana borrows.
Nana borrow.
How? I think they borrowed like $11 billion in a 4 year span.
Yes. Yeah.
When the previous government in the 4 year span had done $3.75 billion on the Eurobond market. To me, I feel like that's huge.
Oh, it's definitely huge. I mean, hey, it's a lot of. You see, right now we are at the IMF, right, for $3 billion. Back in gone are the days
where we used to get,
exactly. So the thing is that you go to the markets, the Eurobond, you issue these bonds, and then they look at your economics. They look at how much debt do you have in total? Do you look like you can pay? Right? It has a fancy name, but at the end of the day, it's like you go into the bank and they look at can you pay this money? They assess your total portfolio. Then they said, Ghana seems like we are on a good trajectory. Things are looking good, right? They gave us the money, and then we went again, and sometimes they even oversubscribed.
Yes, and the finance minister through KK part.
KK part, yeah, of course.
Because of the oversubscription.
But you see, I think one part that was missing was to realize that you can't essentially borrow.
Yeah.
Like you just borrow, right? Because that's Nana borrow. Because a little bit, right? At some point, the people who are giving you the money will start questioning. Wait, with all this money you are borrowing, how can you pay back?
Yeah.
Right? And the way the markets work, sometimes it just takes sometimes a rating agency, right? They will just assess your total debt stock and then be like, you are taking on too much risk, and then they downgrade you. Once they downgrade you, no investor wants to be the last one holding the bag. Right? In investment, that's what we call it, right?
Yeah,
holding the bag. So everybody is kind of trying to hedge and get out of the deal and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how things started backfiring. And then I think it was the beginning of some of the issues. And then of course some acts of God, COVID-19, right? And then they all just contributed. But the core of it was that we overborrowed to a point. Yeah. And then it was just too much, and we weren't getting that needed cushion.
Yeah. Can you walk through the debt to GDP ratio arguments that were borrowing in a way that was far outstripping our GDP?
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, the bottom line is that when you go and borrow, right, you hope that you put that money to good use, maybe invest it somewhere. You get some good return from it, right? I mean, for government, it's a little complicated, right? Because you don't necessarily go put the money in some investment and get it. Sometimes you put it into capital infrastructure.
One D, one F.
I took that one, I beg. You get it?
But one D, one F is supposed to. It's supposed to be one of those two.
But
if you look at their flagship programs, like 1D, 1F, one village, one dam.
One constituency, $1 million.
$1 million. All of those ones, if they had yielded the results, then
it's a big if. You see, it's a big if. Yeah. If you go and take the money and you spread it around, sope here, this area, you go and put small money, this area, you go and put small money. Because you obviously, the amount of money that you need in totality, right, to make all these programs successful is substantial.
It's substantial.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you don't look at it from that perspective, then you look at it from, I made these campaign promises, right? So let me just touch this, touch that. What you end up having is you touch so many things,
and then you
never really complete anything, right? So the money gets locked up, right? So then what that means is that your GDP, you are not really contributing so much to your GDP, right? I think we have a graph here right now, right? If you look at, so this graph we're showing, like, comparing the GDP growth, right, for the various ministers that we've had versus their corresponding president, right? And if you look at the right-hand side, after 2017, right, you can see that Finance Minister Ken Offori-Atta actually, so two things are important here. One is that obviously
the GDP, the debt is growing.
Yeah, so right now let's focus on the GDP part. We'll come to the debt. So the GDP, from that point, you see things started going down.
Yep.
Right? Now,
dancing up and down.
Exactly, dancing up and down, but eventually it's going down, right? Yeah. It just means we're not really contributing, the growth, right, of, contributing to our real output is not increasing, it's just decreasing, right?
Yeah.
But then, fast forward, if you look at the debt, right? If you look at the debt as we're showing right now, you realize that two things are important here. One is, not only did he get a lot of money from,
and this is external debt.
Yeah, this is external debt, right? So from around 35 to 45 billion, right? Dollars. But then, so that obviously is a lot of money. But what is critical is that the total debt itself is high.
Yeah.
Right? And so
you start off from
a very high debt level, right?
And keep compounding.
And so even if you add small and then a little bit more, right? It raises more concern from the creditor's perspective. Do you get it?
Yeah, but the argument too was that in the beginning the creditors were oversubscribing to some of these bonds, which, to be fair, indicates a confidence in the economy. So he can also tell you that, look, we want to be able to move as a country. We have all these flagship programs that we've designed that we think that are going to move the country forward. You have your issues with some of these programs, but the thing is that once we are able to borrow the money and then invest them in some of these flagship programs, then we are moving in the direction that we want to. So the accumulation of the debt itself is not a bad thing, right? If you are able to produce what you say you will. See, it seems like
it all comes down to what you are using the money for.
Yeah.
What you are using the money for. So you go, see, let's be serious. You see, if you go and borrow, let's say the investors, you just issued a couple of bonds, right? They're like, okay, you seem like you want to do A and B and C. Maybe we think if you can do it, it's great, right?
Yeah.
But then once you start throwing the kinky parties and they don't see these projects moving as intended, right? Of course, any logical investor would be concerned, right? Okay. And then other stuff also happened, right? It's not really just they stopped giving us money all of a sudden and things. Yeah, other stuff happened, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some of the acts of God and so on. But the critical part is that when we lost access to the Eurobond, right? Now we couldn't get that extra
the artificial injection that we're injecting to our economy to make it look like things were okay.
Well, there is a bit of that, and then also, like, every government has some element of deficit, right? I mean, in the US, even they have like budget deficits, right? So at the end of the day, in very simple terms, you plan to collect some money through taxes and stuff. That's your revenue. You plan to spend some money, your expenditure, right, on some stuff. But then it's rare that what you plan to spend on is actually less than what you hope to get. It's usually the case that your expenditure is higher,
more
right?
than you
and then that just means you also want to grow, right? So the difference, that deficit is what you can borrow to
finance.
Now, if you can't borrow, you lose access to the market. That's where it becomes a problem. Then you start looking around for your reserve, try and dip into it a little bit, and things just get
when things started going south under this finance minister, I remember clearly that there were a lot of people who were saying that we should go to the IMF, and that became a whole fiasco in Ghana.
People were like, before, no?
Yes, the thing is that when the NDC went to the IMF, Charlie, the way Baumia gave to them, Ken Offori-Atta gave. I have watched a lot of interviews where Ken Offori-Atta is just giving it to them, giving it to NDC, saying that they were bad managers of the economy and this and that and that. And then they had to go to the IMF. Ken Offori-Atta resisted going to the IMF. He said that we are a very proud people and we don't go to the IMF today, we don't go to the IMF tomorrow. Charlie, fast forward.
So then we lost our pride though.
I'm a proud guy.
Guy. No. We not be proud anymore.
They introduced e-levy as a panacea for the revenue shortfall.
The panacea.
But it's still no source.
It's not good source.
Oh, I feel like it's bad enough that you make a projection of 6 billion. The government made a projection of 6 billion cedis to come from electronic levies on electronic payments. So they taxed sending of money from mobile money to mobile money, and they thought they were going to raise about 6 billion Ghana cedis from that. In the first year, I think they were struggling to even get more than 10% of that. How can you be so wide off your projection?
Yeah, well, I mean, if the tax that you are introducing is highly unpopular, right, and you yourself, you have gone on record to state categorically, right, that we should not be taxing.
Yeah, Baumia stated that. Yeah.
So the thing that you claim you believed in, now you are going against it, right? And if you look at the whole brouhaha around, like,
Charlie, MPs were fighting in parliament,
exactly,
beating each other,
you know. So you make
things.
So you make some estimates, right? You think, okay, conservatively, even if I get like 70% and so on, right?
Yeah.
You do your calculation, but then there is human behavior. This is part of the reason why I'm actually a little concerned with Dr. Baumia taking a back seat in some of these.
Why?
Right? Because he's the economist.
He didn't take a back seat.
Oh, what I mean by he's saying that he wasn't in charge of, those. I mean, today he's telling us he wants to even cancel it.
Yeah, the e-levy.
Exactly. Yeah. So there is human behavior, right? First of all, if you have a very unpopular tax like e-levy, clearly it's you're not going to have an easy way out. Taxes are just just like that. Now, the other thing is that even the time frame, right, when they hoped they would start collecting the money from the e-levy.
Yeah, it had to be pushed back.
It had to be pushed back.
Like May
exactly,
or something
because
like that.
Charlie.
2022.
Yes, and I think there were some technical hiccups and stuff. So, long story short, it failed.
We had to go to the IMF.
The revenue failed because, but for some of us, it was obvious that this thing, Charlie, not going to work.
Yeah.
So, we went to IMF. Losing our pride.
We went to IMF. There was a whole debt restructuring. People have lost money. Me, I have lost that. Charlie, there was an investment in Ghana. This people should give me my money. They say, oh no, they won't give me the money.
Wait. Pensioners have not get their money. Now you they relax.
Charlie. So that also happened. A lot of protests about the debt restructuring. People were not on board with it, but alas, the government got its way. They've been trying to restructure. Well, they've restructured some of the external debt as well, and that was all as part of the IMF program. We are in the IMF program right now.
Actually, the program you were saying it wasn't.
Yeah, the ECF. So the government communicators usually make the arguments that there are other countries at the IMF as well. I think there are a lot of countries at the IMF, but to be fair, you see. The thing is that there are a lot of programs that the IMF has. There are programs for people. It's just like the bank, right? People go in there. There are people who are rich and still go to the bank for certain facilities. Maybe he's trying to expand his company or something. There are people who go into the bank because they have some need for capital injection. They are in a little bit of short term, but there are people who also go to the bank that's Charlie.
Charlie, we make hot.
We make hot.
And we are in deep.
We are in deep. If you look at the ECF, the extended credit facility that we are with, that's one of the major IMF packages for people or countries, I should say, who have protracted balance of payments issues, right? So it's not a quick fix kind of program, and we are in the program for the average length of that particular program is like 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years, maybe to 5 years.
So it's not when you say other countries are there as well, that's a very simplistic argument. It is not true that they are all there for the reasons why we are there. We have to be honest with ourselves.
Right.
We've had record inflation. The inflation went up to like 50%. The depreciation of
I was somewhere in January or so.
Last year.
Hi.
Last year was bad.
But you see, actually,
or is it 2022? Was it 2022 that the city reached like 17 cities?
Guy, I lost track of that thing.
It was just crazy.
The bottom line is that when things were really, in the heat of the moment, things were going crazy. I think oil was one of the issues, right? Every day fuel prices, they go up. I mean, we heard people say, Charlie, fine, it's okay that the price is even high. Just make it stable.
The way it is changing.
Make it stable so we can even plan, right? Wow. And sometimes, in other countries, they do some kind of hedging and stuff, right? I think it was around the Russian-Ukraine components of it, right? You want to put in place some kind of hedging strategies, right? But I think this minister was always like a little too slow to act. I don't know whether it was like pride. Well, he did say, to be fair, he was proud.
People.
So
no, all of us, not just
guy, you be proud.
Yeah, I'm proud. Well, I know you're proud.
Well, I had pride. Not that we are tired. All my pride just said that. See, but you see, the thing is that sometimes you have to act quickly, right, to respond to some of those things, right? Because we delayed, we didn't do any hedging, and it ended up just, it kept going and going.
We did good for oil program afterwards, but
last.
Anyway, there was a motion of censure in Parliament. The MPP MPs, the party that forms the government, their MPs said, they should take off the minister, they should sack the minister. I mean, I shouldn't say they. Nana Addo before I know the president should sack the minister. Senior man said he would not sack the minister.
It goes on now. I want to over fire.
But if I get you, I'll fire you.
I know be your cousin, so that's fair.
But you are my brother.
See, in fact, if you get me and I know they perform, fire me. See, that's just the bottom line.
I want to fire you right now. But Offori-Atta survived.
The thing is that, you see, this is conflict of interest laws or regulations are there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? If you hire somebody like your cousin or whatever, right? That was the initial concern people had. That
I had it. I was like, why are we? So there are no other people in that. Like, if he doesn't perform, then it becomes very difficult.
Exactly. This is. So you see, you don't have to even reinvent the wheel in some of these things, right? The laws are there for a reason. Don't go and bring in your family.
We really have a law against that. I don't even know if we have a law.
It would be unfortunate if we didn't, right?
I don't think so.
The point is that
because otherwise, I was able to do it.
I mean,
Ghana, some people, African leaders, the law will be there and will be doing that.
They are the law. See, what they do becomes law. See, the bottom line is, if it becomes just so complicated, and I understand the dilemma the president must have been in.
But what if he genuinely thinks that the man has done well?
Well,
you say the man hasn't done bad.
Okay.
He has done well.
Well, I mean, maybe he believes it, but then why did he fire him?
And we'll get into that. After Ken Offori-Atta has been able to survive everything, why do you think he has fired him right now? Let me tell you what I think. I think And it's not actually a firing. We get into why.
You got promoted.
You get into a firing. The man has been promoted. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it is just a political, to gain some political points. My theory is this. So Bawumia is going into election. Vice President Bawumia is gunning for the top seats. Mm-hmm. And people are not on board with this finance minister at all. I mean, we already said that people have clamored for his firing for the longest time. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen. Going into the election, if you sacrifice him, then with Bawumia saying that he's going to depart from some of the policies of this current government, right? Then they can say that, oh, maybe the person who was in charge of some of these policies has been sacrificed. And also, Ghanaians, we have listened to you. And we have done what you people have been asking for all this while. You understand? So it's a feather in our cap.
So you think he is sacrificing his cousin?
That's why he didn't really sacrifice. That's why he has been given a position as a special envoy on a senior advisor and envoy to the capital market.
Yes.
So why is
it capital market you go?
Yeah. So why is he still hanging around?
Because it's just some of the job for the boys and job for the family, right?
And so that's what I'm saying, that like it's not an issue of, oh, he hasn't done well, so I'm firing him. It's an issue of, I have to make a political calculation, and now this is what I will do as a political calculation. You know, put him in this other position. He's still going to be influencing finance and the financial policy of the country, especially with just 10 months to go to the election, right? Mm-hmm. He's still going to have some influence there, but we've also given, you know, it's like when they were going to kill Jesus, and the I don't know if it's Pontius Pilate, no, not Pontius Pilate. He gave one of the prisoners. Well, we freed the prisoners and took Jesus and
Barnabas.
We had Barnabas. Then do have Barnabas.
But Barnabas, the people were asking for Barnabas,
so he gave you what you wanted.
They sacrificed.
They sacrificed somebody to get the big fish. So he's sacrificing Offori-Atta right now.
See, all these things, they go anywhere.
Oh, you sure?
Oh,
you don't think people will be happy with Offori-Atta?
I think people are happy with Offori-Atta.
And it will translate into.
I will be surprised if it translates into some significant political shifts. Right? In fact, maybe Ghana for Hoya. If because of I'll be very disappointed if because of just this finessing happening, right? Yeah. Like people somehow think this is so phenomenal that they are going to change their political stance. Yeah. What I said. Yeah. So he can do all that he wants to do.
You don't think it will matter?
I don't think it's going to move our bottom lines significantly right now. I don't know if it would be such a big political. See, time the time where we needed Ken to go, to step aside, right? The heat of the moment where we needed fresh ideas. You know, do one.
Okay.
So
right now, kwata, there's a new minister of finance. A new force. It's a new force at the Ministry of Finance. Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, who was Minister of State at the Presidency on Finance or something like that. So now he's going to be taking over. He's also an MP.
So what is he going to do now?
He's going to continue. Nana Addo.
So wait, maybe just through the IMF program.
Yeah,
so they are run business day to day and until
then there are IMF conditionalities that we have to meet for various tranches. I think we just finished the processes for the second tranche, so maybe that's not going to be on his plate. But I think there's something in March. Negotiations with external creditors. So he has to be working on that. Offori-Atta will probably also be around because he's a minister. He's at the
What did we do at all to deserve this? Why can't we just go and sleep, wake up, and there is no Offori-Atta in our government?
Why? But he has
that. The man, He has done what? Finished that statement.
The person who
No, not the person who
No.
Wankasa, finish that statement.
Yeah, listen. Do you want to vote for me? If you vote for me, it will be very.
You are not on the ballot. I'm saying that finish that statement. See, the bottom line is that Unia, Ken Offori-Atta as finance minister.
He has done well.
He hasn't done well.
The first few years.
First 1 year out of what?
Oh, the 2019 was okay.
2019 was okay.
Then
what happened?
So COVID.
2020. That COVID, no crying. That COVID. If you look at the monies we got for COVID and how much COVID cost us,
it doesn't matter.
Why does it not matter?
It caused global disruptions in the supply chain.
There is no denying that fact, right? In fact, let's bring that graph. Where we are comparing our neighbors. You see, so this is Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, right, and Togo. Right, these are our neighbors.
Yes.
So look, 2019. So before 2019, we were actually, GDP growth wise, we were better than all these our neighbors, right? Then 2019, mic drop. Do you get it?
2020,
so
yeah.
It's like 2020, yeah. It's like gravity, right? COVID obviously affected everybody. No two ways about it. But look at how they drop for our neighbors. Our neighbors are clustered. So you see, that clustering tells you that this is something that is, is systematic. It's not specific to a particular one. But look at our own. You see, we don't drop. So that gap he did down there, right? That gap be our own peculiar miscalculations. You get them? So I beg. COVID hit everybody. The global economy took a nosedive, right? But we and you see that miscalculation has been one of the issues for this finance minister. Do you get it?
I know they calculated it.
You know they calculated. In fact, he even said one time instead of when they tried to hedge the fuel thing I was talking about earlier, they didn't get the pricing right. He said it to one journalist.
Yeah.
So,
but if they didn't get what was
the miscalculation now? The miscalculation. The whole point is that you distinguish yourself when depending on how you're able to perform in distress.
So you don't think he has performed well?
I don't think he has.
So right now, the new finance minister. Me, the concerns that I have with the new finance minister is this. He probably is. He is qualified. He's a PhD. He's been working for. He has been working in development finance.
See, I get.
He has been working in.
Obviously, it's commendable that somebody has achieved all this academic.
Oh no, not just. You didn't let me finish what I was saying. I was even talking about his track record in finance. He has been working in that space for a while. I had concerns with continuity because when you are going into we are in the last stretch of the administration, right? And then also we are doing all these negotiations for these IMF programs and all of that. Ken should have gone way before now, so that whichever finance minister would have been in would have carried us from that time through this period to the end. But anyway, they brought Adam. He's been in and around those spaces. So in terms of settling in, I think he will be much faster than the average 6 months that we think the minister needs to settle in. My problem is that he's an MP, and very soon we will be going into the election season where he has to go campaign.
And even how popular his party is becoming.
Yeah, so
more work to do.
Hopefully, he doesn't take his eye off the ball too much. Hopefully, he's able to juggle campaign, rigorous campaign.
You go where your eye go there. Honestly,
because if you go to opposition, it doesn't matter whether you're MP, your handles go bend. So you have to do.
So, but let's say if it were you, giving Dr. Baumia, right? Giving you have to look at this in totality.
The matter had.
Charlie, one. You see, you do your political calculation. Then you're like, okay, maybe make a focus on this one. I think right now it's just autopilot, right? He's just going to be there, sign the document, sit in the meetings. I don't hope to see any.
No, definitely. In terms of like policy, the budget has already been set for 2024.
Yeah, it's
just budget and policy document is set for 2024. There will not be any significant change. Hopefully, things don't go alright.
Yeah.
Hopefully, as a co-pilot that the main pilot has collapsed, just land the plane for us. That's all. Just land the plane.
Except that this main pilot is still hovering around the
country. The main pilot is there right now. Anyway, land the plane for us. But Ken Offori-Atta was not the only minister that was let go. There were a couple others as well.
It's a chairman.
The health minister, he has his own issues. He went to sign some contracts. He asked me, he was not thinking.
Yes, imagine. He was not thinking. But was he asleep?
I don't know, give that man. But anyway, he's been let go, replaced by Dr. Okoboy, who is a doctor. Jamin was an accountant. He had issues with that one as well.
I mean, what I was saying was that I don't know, we have a lot of people who are qualified to be health ministers, right? Who also at the same time have medical background, right? I think that, you see, all I'm saying is that if I have to pick between two people to be health minister, right? And they all fairly have the same, comparable qualifications, right? And then one has medical history or medical background, like training, right? Maybe a medical doctor even, right?
Or an administrator in a hospital.
Massa, all I'm saying is that I see.
You was okay. I understand
there. After he wasn't thinking.
No.
You're surprised. You see.
I think Kojo Oponkuma has been reassigned.
Chairman, no.
Works in house.
Now works in house in there. Where you go?
He was information minister before. Now works in house. Charlie, he said he's going to focus on Saglemi housing project and I think one other one and a couple other things.
And get it done in 10 months.
Maybe get it to a point where you can hand it over and somebody can get it. I don't know.
Yes, you see this whole
it's not. This whole I don't understand why the reshuffle is happening at this time. But hey.
It's not the need.
Senior man said he's going to reshuffle there. What can you do? I've never voted for him before.
It's not the need.
And then Honorable Amakwata, Roads Minister, has also been changed. There are a couple either fired or reassigned. Both ministers and deputy ministers.
Last, did Ghanaians get their wish of Ken must go? Maybe they did. I actually saw a post on Twitter that he was the longest serving.
Yeah,
since the Fourth Republic.
Yeah, he probably is. Most ministers, I don't know anybody who has been there for that long. Maybe some of the ministers under the.
And how many ministers?
Some of the ministers under the NDC. But that one. You might have to count the PNDC era with the NDC era for it to be longer than that.
When they started 92.
92, right? I don't know. Nobody.
But you see, then the thing
maybe
is,
I don't know my ministers.
It's part of we were made to learn that thing.
That's why you see that one.
Exactly. Know your ministers. See, the thing is that how many of such ministers were even cousins to the president, right? So I hope Ghana will learn this important lesson. Right,
but we have to go bring in person.
Good for him. But we see.
Anyway, conclusion is a little too late.
It's
inconsequential.
At this point, we are already in a ditch. Like we're trying to come out of.
Hopefully, the new minister will work us out of the ditch. But we
don't expect a lot.
Yes,
that's
hopefully.
I don't think.
Hopefully things will be okay.
But he could surprise us.
Like me and you or what?
Oh, as Ghanaians, like he can shock us. You know, he go for shock us.
Right? You wanted him to surprise you your DM.
Oh, why go surprise?
Your bank account.
Don't be that level. I say right now, see, as a Ghanaian, I don't have a lot of expectations of what
expectations are low
for the rest of the year, right? But if he can really shock us in a good way, of course.
I don't.
Right? That would be impressive. No pressure, but
yeah. Anyway, that's the that's the tough album. So like, share, subscribe. Thanks for all your support. Please put your comments in there. What do you think of the reshuffle? Do you think it is necessary at this point? What do you think the president is trying to do with this 4D chess? We'll also be interested in topics that you want us to treat, right? So anything that you think is of interest to you, you'd like to see a little bit more on the channel, definitely put it in the comment section. We love the comments that have been coming so far. Please keep them coming. Like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend about this channel. We'll be bringing you even more interesting content. Watch out.
Yeah, you guys are the best.
We have some. Watch out.
Oh, watch out! Yeah, we have some. See, we have some solid, top-notch content coming your way. But we also, like Ike mentioned, we want to learn from what you want to know more about. We will do all the research, and we will come bring you the story.
Okay.
All right. Peace out.
Bye.
Till next time.